You think you're waiting on God, but God is sitting in the waiting room of your own silence. Every answered prayer is standing outside your door saying, "Speak the word, and I may enter." I learned long ago nothing changes until the tongue moves in truth. In this lesson, I will show you why God isn't late, why your good hasn't vanished, but waits for your command. You will learn how to speak the word that dissolves delay, cancels fear, and sets divine law in motion. You'll discover the secret of timing, that heaven never hesitates, but mirrors your faith exactly as you speak it. For years, I watched people suffer, believing that God had forgotten them. But once they spoke the word in faith, their miracles came rushing like the tide. Today, I will teach you how to do the same, how to speak and see your world obey. I know what it feels like to pray until your voice is tired and still see nothing move. You say, "God, where are you?" And heaven seems silent. But I tell you this, God was never absent. He was only waiting on your faith to give him permission to act. You've tried hoping, wishing, waiting, but not declaring. The world has taught you to beg, but the Spirit teaches you to command. And that's why most people live in delay. They never learn that their word is the bridge between thought and thing. Once you learn to speak from divine authority, every closed door must open by law. In this message, I will show you how to break the spell of delay, how to make the invisible visible by your spoken word. We will uncover the laws of divine timing, and I'll share the real reason some prayers seem unanswered. You'll see that delay is never denial. It is the universe waiting for you to align your speech with your faith. Together, we'll walk through stories of those who waited and spoke and watched their miracles rush to meet them. And before this lesson ends, I will give you the same declarations that open the floodgates of abundance for my own students, words that will make the impossible bow. So stay with me, for before this hour closes, you will know exactly what to say to move heaven itself. You've heard me say, God is never late, he's only waiting for you to speak. And now I will show you why that is not poetry, it's law. Every soul watching me today has faced the ache of waiting. You've prayed. You've begged. You've hoped until hope itself felt tired. But let me tell you a divine secret. Heaven has never been slow. Heaven moves at the exact rhythm of your faith, not at the pace of the clock. What you call delay is only divine preparation. Spirit arranging every condition so that when your good appears, it arrives complete. You see, most people think they are waiting on God, but the truth is they are waiting on their own word to give heaven permission to act. Here's something most people completely miss. When you speak in fear, you press pause on your own miracle. Fear is the frost that freezes divine energy before it can blossom, but faith is the sun that melts that frost in an instant. The moment you speak in fearless faith, invisible forces begin to move. They move faster than light because they move through divine law. There is no time in spirit, there is only order. And order never hurries, because it's never behind. I once counseled a woman who came to me with nothing but $8 and a weary heart. The world told her she was finished, but her intuition whispered, "Go home." Now reason said, "Stay here and find work," but faith said, "Follow the hunch." She obeyed. She took the last of her car fare and went home, and on that journey, she was guided to a friend who opened a door to her abundance. Within days, she received thousands of dollars in the most unexpected way. $8 and a hunch became a fortune and a testimony. Was that accident? No. That was divine timing meeting a spoken word. The moment she said, "I am an ass, irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right," heaven began its motion. God wasn't late, he was waiting for her declaration. So here's what I've learned in all my years teaching this truth. Delay doesn't exist in divine mind. Delay lives only in human thought. It is the fog of doubt that clouds the clock of faith. Every time you say, "When will it happen?" you push it further. But when you say, "It is done now," you bring it close. Faith compresses time, doubt stretches it thin. God doesn't need hours or days to act, he needs your yes, your conviction, your word. Think of it like planting a seed. You bury it in the soil and trust the process. You don't dig it up every hour to check if it's growing, that would kill it. Yet that's exactly what people do with their prayers. They speak their word, and then they go back and dig it up with worry. Faith doesn't dig. Faith waters. Faith blesses. Faith says, "My harvest is already sprouting beneath the surface. and at the appointed hour, it will break through the soil in beauty. Now, some of you may say, "But Florence, what about silence? What about those seasons when nothing seems to move?" Oh, I know that silence well. It's heavy, it echoes, it tests every fiber of your faith. But silence is not God's absence, it is His invitation to speak. It is Spirit waiting for your vibration to rise high enough for the next command. When heaven seems quiet, it is never deaf, it is deliberate. The delay is the pause before the music swells. Imagine tuning a radio, you turn the dial, and for a moment, all you hear is static. That static isn't failure, it's feedback. The signal is there, you just haven't aligned with it yet. That's how divine timing works. God's broadcast is constant, but you must fine-tune your frequency with words of truth. When you say, "All that is mine by divine right now comes to me under grace," you shift that dial from noise to clarity. Let me tell you, something that changed everything for me. Intuition is God's clock within you. It's how Spirit whispers, "Now is the time." When that inner nudge comes, obey it instantly. Don't second-guess it, don't explain it, don't delay it. Every miracle I've ever witnessed began with someone following a quiet hunch that reason called foolish. Obedience to intuition is obedience to divine timing. Do you remember the story of Jesus and Lazarus? They said he was late, that he should have come sooner, but when he arrived, he spoke one word, "Come forth." And life obeyed. That wasn't delay, that was alignment. If he had come earlier, the glory of resurrection would never have been revealed. So never accuse God of being late when He's simply preparing a larger miracle. I've learned to bless the waiting. I say, every delay is a divine setup for perfect success. When I bless it, peace enters, and suddenly things begin to move. You see, worry is resistance, praise is propulsion. When you bless the moment, you shorten the distance. So if you feel like you've been waiting too long, remember this. It's not God who's late, it's your word that's still forming. Speak it now, speak it boldly. Say, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate good. Let the perfect plan unfold under grace in perfect ways." That word sets the gears of heaven turning. And I want you to imagine those gears like the inside of a grand clock, every cog moving in precision, every tick guided by divine intelligence. What you thought was stillness was synchronization. Every event, every encounter, every closed door is aligning perfectly with your next yes. So don't look at your life and call it stuck, call it staging. The stagehands of Spirit are setting your scene, and the curtain will rise the instant your word says, "Now." When I understood this, my entire relationship with time changed. I stopped rushing, stopped doubting, and began declaring. And I want you to do the same. Stop saying, "It's taking too long." Start saying, "It's unfolding right on schedule." Because faith doesn't count days, it counts alignment. Now I'll tell you something else. When you speak your word and truly release it, time itself becomes your servant. The hours work for you, the minutes move miracles. That's why I say, there is no delay in divine mind. What looks like waiting is really readiness, so take this with you. Your good isn't late, it's layered. It's arriving in divine order, and every word you speak shapes its arrival. And now that you understand how divine timing bends to your faith, let's step deeper. Because some words move mountains, and others barely move the air. The difference isn't the language, it's the life behind it. So next, I'll show you the power that lives in your spoken word, and why your voice is the command that wakes heaven itself. You have heard me say many times that your word is your wand. Every phrase you speak, every declaration that leaves your lips, is a seed that must grow after its kind. The invisible substance of life is obedient. It takes its shape from the words you give it. What most people never realize is that their world is built from sentences they have spoken carelessly, and that every idle word is a blueprint drawn in spirit and made solid in form. I learned long ago that you do not hope your way into miracles, you speak them. You do not wish your life into order, you decree it so. Every time you open your mouth, you are giving an order to the universe, and the universe, being impersonal law, says only one thing in reply: yes. So if you say, "I am always late," "I am always broke," "I never get a chance," then the law, faithful and exact, delivers delay, poverty, and missed opportunity. But when you declare, "I am divinely guided, divinely prospered, divinely protected," the same law goes to work to bring that word into visibility. You see, the tongue is the rudder of your dars, ship, and every careless word is a turn upon the wheel. Here's something that might seem strange at first. Even humor has power. A woman once came to me many years ago when I was teaching in New York. She had lost her home, her money, and her peace. She said to me, "I don't know how this happened, Florence. I used to have everything." And as we talked, I discovered that for years she had joked with her friends that she was tired of managing her house and her things, that she'd like to pack it all up and live in a trunk. She laughed when she said it, never realizing that her words were writing the script of her future. And one day, she found herself living out of a trunk. That was the law, carrying out her own decree. The subconscious mind has no sense of humor. It doesn't know when you're joking, it only knows command. So guard your words as you would guard treasure. Never speak of what you don't want to keep, and never prophesy lack or limitation for yourself or for anyone. When I say your word is your wand, I mean that quite literally. Every word you speak sends out a vibration that touches the whole field of substance around you. The universe is sound before it is sight. In the beginning was the Word, and nothing has changed since. The law of vibration is the oldest law in existence, and speech is its most direct instrument. A person may think 1,000 fearful thoughts, but when they speak one word of faith, that word has more power than all their unspoken doubts. It's like striking a match in a dark room. The flame cancels the darkness instantly, because light has precedence over shadow. So it is with your declarations. Speak light, and the darkness must disappear. Now I know there are those who say, "But I've spoken good words, and nothing happened." And I say to them, yes, you spoke the words. But you didn't believe them. Words without faith are empty shells. They rattle in the air and fall to the ground. Without fruit. The creative word must be charged with conviction. It must be spoken as if God Himself were speaking through you, because He is. You are the channel, and your faith is the current. The moment you unite your voice with certainty, heaven answers with motion. That's why Jesus said, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." He wasn't speaking of moral judgment. He was describing metaphysical law. You justify yourself into freedom or condemn yourself into bondage by the way you speak. Let me tell you about another woman who came to me one afternoon asking for a treatment for prosperity. She had only $2 in the world. I said, "Let us bless these $2 and know that they multiply as Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes." I told her to declare, "I have the magic purse of the Spirit. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, immediately money comes in, under grace, in perfect ways." She laughed through her tears and said, "I feel my bag heavy with money." She gave me one of her dollars as a love offering, and I held the picture of her abundance so clearly that I could see gold and silver pouring into her life. Within a short time, she received a gift of $6,000. Faith spoken aloud is a magnet for supply. That's not coincidence, that's the law of vibration answering a command. Here's what I want you to hear. The universe doesn't respond to your vocabulary, it responds to your vibration. Heaven recognizes tone, not grammar. Whispered fear has no force. It dissolves before it can reach the ethers. But spoken faith, faith that rings with authority, shakes the unseen into order. When you speak with the certainty of divine right, your word travels like a bolt of electricity through substance. It imprints the invisible, and the invisible must externalize. You could say the same phrase in 2 different tones and get 2 entirely different results. Say, "I am rich," while feeling anxious, and you send out confusion. Say, "I am rich," while feeling gratitude, and you summon wealth. The tone carries the truth. Speak as one who commands, not as one who pleads. Heaven is not moved by begging, it is moved by belief. Now, let's address the other side of the coin, the words that bind. Every time you say, "I can't," "I'm afraid," "it's too late," you forge invisible chains around yourself. You tie the law to limitation. But every "I can" breaks those chains. The phrase "I am" is the name of God, and whatever you place after it becomes your reality. Say, "I am tired," and you invoke fatigue. Say, "I am full of divine energy," and vitality must obey. The law doesn't choose for you, it executes your choice. So I tell my students, be ruthless with your words, let nothing of defeat pass your lips. If you must speak of an appearance, Do so only to declare its end. Never describe the mountain, command it to move. Now, sometimes people ask me, what do I do if I've already spoken fear, if I've already declared something I regret? And I tell them, the spoken word that creates can also erase. You can overwrite any false record with a higher truth. I say aloud, I now smash and demolish every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They shall return to the dust heap of their native nothingness. When you declare that, the old patterns lose their energy and disintegrate. Then follow it with affirmation. I now make my perfect records through the Christ within, records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. The moment you speak it, the new track begins to play. Think of your subconscious as a phonograph. Whatever record you place on it will play until you change it. So change it boldly, and let the music of your new word fill your life. And let me show you something wonderful. This law works whether you know it or not. A careless word of doubt is just as creative as a conscious word of faith. It's simply creating what you don't want. But once you become aware, once you understand that every word is cause, you stop using language lightly. You begin to weigh your sentences like gold. You realize that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and you choose life every time you speak. Now, I must tell you this, because it will set you free. You can speak the word of reversal at any moment. You can stop in the middle of a complaint and say, cancel that, I now speak truth. That simple pivot can redeem a day, a relationship, even a destiny. The law of forgiveness applies to speech as well. The universe never punishes it, simply replays the vibration until you change the note. So when you speak again, speak as though the whole of heaven is listening, because it is. You may think, but Florence, this is hard. I've been negative for years. I say, start today. One word of truth can erase 1,000 falsehoods. Light doesn't fight darkness, it replaces it. When you speak your new word, the old energy dissolves like mist before the morning sunday. Start small. Replace I can't afford it with, it comes to me easily under grace. Replace I'm always late with, I'm always on divine time. Replace I'm alone with, I am surrounded by love. Your speech becomes your prophecy. And I promise you, the universe will rearrange itself to match your declaration. When I began to teach this law, people said to me, you make it sound too simple. And I smiled and said, it is simple, that's why most people miss it. They think power must be complicated. They think miracles require formulas and rituals, but God made it easy so no one could fail. All you need is your word and your faith. Speak the word, and the word will do the work. So, let me leave you with this thought before we move on. Every sentence you speak today is a brushstroke, painting the picture of your tomorrow. Paint boldly. Paint beautifully. Use words of life, words of joy, words that lift and expand. Because one day, you will step into that picture and live within it. Now, you may be wondering, what happens after you've spoken the word? Why is it that sometimes, right after you declare the truth, everything seems to go wrong? Why does the world appear to crumble just before the miracle breaks through? Don't be troubled, this is the ancient law in action. The universe will always test your word to prove it. And that's where we go next, the holy furnace, where every faith is tried and every miracle is born. I must tell you now of a sacred moment in every demonstration, the moment most people fear and flee from the test. Every word of truth you speak must be proven. Not because God doubts you, but because you must discover the power that lives in you. The universe, being a faithful servant, brings forth a mirror immediately after you speak. It holds that mirror before your eyes and asks silently, do you still believe? And it is in that instant, when appearances contradict your faith, that your real work begins. The appearance of opposition is not punishment. It is proof that your word has entered the field and is now stirring the old conditions to the surface, like sediment rising before the water clears. The test always comes to reveal whether you truly believe that God is never late. I have watched this law operate too many times to doubt it. I've seen a woman affirm wealth and wake up the next day to find her purse stolen. I've seen a man declare health and then fall ill for a week. I've seen people speak love and then face misunderstanding and loneliness. They come to me frightened, saying, Florence, why has everything gone wrong? And I tell them, nothing has gone wrong, my dear, it has gone right. The very moment you spoke your word, the old vibration began to die. and death, in any form, looks like disorder. The law of constitutive substitution always operates in this way. When the wrong thing begins to fall away, the right thing rushes in to take its place. Spirit never takes without replacing. Every rejection hides redirection, every loss conceals greater gain. So when something falls away, bless it and say, "This too shall pass into blessing, for there is no loss in divine mind." You must remember, life is like a great river. When a stone blocks its course, the water gathers force until it pushes the obstruction aside. When you speak your word, you set that current in motion, and everything, unlike your declaration, begins to move. If you panic at the turbulence, you will halt the flow. But if you stand still and watch, you will see the waters part before you. "Be still and know that I am God" is not advice for quiet afternoons, it is a command for the storm. When appearances shout lack, when the phone call doesn't come, when the bill arrives before the money, that is your furnace of faith. The 3 Hebrew children did not pray for the fire to cool, they walked through it untouched, and the fire became light around them. The same flame that burns away fear refines the gold of faith. Now, there is a peculiar thing that happens to those who truly begin to live by faith. The tests become quicker and more exact, because Spirit knows they are ready for mastery. The interval between the word and the challenge shortens. Sometimes you will speak prosperity in the morning and meet a test of lack by nightfall. Do not shrink from it, rejoice in it. Say aloud, "This proves that my word is alive, it is rearranging my world." Gratitude during the test speeds deliverance. Fear delays it. If you can give thanks while in apparent captivity, you are already free. I recall a woman who longed for a home of her own during a time when apartments were scarce in New York. Every broker told her, "It's impossible, there's nothing available." But she refused the word impossible. She said instead, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for the right apartment." I am unconcerned about appearances. For one with God is a majority. She was tempted to worry, tempted to doubt, tempted to accept defeat. Yet instead of bowing to the pressure, she went out and bought new blankets for the bed she did not yet have. She said, "I'll dig my ditches by buying the blankets." That act of faith was her word in motion. Within days, she was offered a perfect apartment, one chosen for her out of 200 applicants. That is the law of divine testing and proof. You prepare for what you do not yet see, and by your preparation, you call it forth. Every apparent obstacle is a question the universe asks, "Do you believe what you said?" And your answer must always be action. Fear hesitates, faith acts. Fear looks for signs, faith creates them. Fear doubts its own voice, faith knows the echo of heaven when it speaks. So when your world trembles after you have declared the truth, do not rush to repair the rubble, let it fall. Let the old structure collapse, for beneath it the foundation of the new world is forming. There was once a client of mine, a woman burdened by debt. She affirmed daily, "I am rich, I am free, I am supplied from the inexhaustible source of the universe." She said it with joy until one day a creditor threatened legal action. Panic surged through her, and she came to me nearly in tears. "Florence," she said, "I thought the law worked. Why would this happen now?" And I replied, "Because you are on the brink of manifestation. This is the last test of your faith. If you can stand still now, the tide will turn." She went home and repeated, "God is never late. My supply comes swiftly under grace." The very next day, she received a letter from a relative she hadn't heard from in years, enclosing a check large enough to clear every debt. The threat had vanished overnight. The furnace had burned away her fear, and only gold remained. I tell you these stories because they are not exceptions, they are illustrations of law. The universe does not play favorites, it mirrors conviction. That is why I say, do not fear the test, welcome it. For in the test, your words take flesh. In the test, faith stops being theory and becomes substance. Every promise of Scripture is fulfilled through demonstration, and every demonstration requires testing. It is the invisible made visible through the fire of proof. If you are facing a storm today, bless it. Speak to it as Jesus spoke to the sea, and say, "Peace, be still." Not "please be still," but "be still." The command tone of authority moves law, the tone of begging leaves it idle. The walls of Jericho did not fall through weeping or waiting, they fell through sound, through the trumpet of praise. Praise is sound clothed in faith, and it collapses every barrier. So here's what I urge you to do when the next test comes. Do not speak of how dark it looks. Speak light. Do not describe the furnace. Declare its purpose. This fire refines me into gold. Do not ask when it will end. Say, it is already finished in divine mind. For faith has no tense, it lives in the eternal now. And once your word is proven, you will find yourself living in a peace that cannot be shaken, a peace born of knowing that law is faithful, that spirit never fails, and that God is never late. Now that you understand the power of testing, we can move from faith under fire to faith in flow. For once the soul has passed the furnace, it begins to live in harmony with the laws that govern all creation. And that is where the miracles cease to surprise you and start to become your daily rhythm. So let us walk into that quiet harmony together, the art of living in alignment with divine law. There comes a moment, after the storms have passed and the tests have burned away what is false, when the soul begins to rest in rhythm with divine order. You no longer strain to make life move. You no longer beg or push or chase. Instead, you begin to float in the invisible current of rightness, and everything unfolds by grace. This is what it means to live in alignment with divine law. It is to walk through each hour with the quiet knowledge that you are one with the rhythm of creation, that what you seek is seeking you, that your word, your thought, and your feeling are no longer at war, but in harmony. For most people, this is the hardest lesson of all, because the human mind loves resistance. It loves to fix, to worry, to explain. But the law of non-resistance is clear. The moment you cease fighting appearances, appearances lose their power over you. To agree with truth quickly is to release control and to invite order. When I learned to stop struggling and simply say, Infinite Spirit, arrange this in divine right order, my life changed. The burdens I once carried began to dissolve as though they had never existed. You see, struggle is the language of separation, but rest is the language of faith. When you are aligned with the law, you speak less and trust more. You stop saying, how will this happen? And you start saying, of course it is happening. Alignment is not passivity, it is power resting in confidence. It is the poised silence of knowing that every element of your world is already obeying the blueprint within your consciousness. Every outer disorder is only a reflection of an inner tangle, and when you straighten the thought, the world untangles itself without effort. I once counseled a man whose affairs were in turmoil. He was constantly anxious, moving from one decision to another, trying to force opportunities, pressing for results. He told me, Florence, I feel like I'm rowing upstream all the time. And I said to him, stop rowing, let the current carry you. At first, he thought that meant doing nothing. But I explained, you're not being asked to sit idle, you're being asked to move in rhythm with God's tide. Right action will arise from peace, not panic. When he finally released the reins of his mind and spoke the word, divine order now governs my life and affairs, everything that had been blocked began to move. Within weeks, contracts that had been stalled for months were signed, the right people appeared, and his business found a new strength. He said to me, it feels as though something invisible has been guiding every detail. I smiled and said, that something is divine order. It was always there, waiting for your permission. To live in divine alignment also means to live in forgiveness, for resentment is the thickest wall between man and his good. You cannot speak powerfully through bitterness. You may pray and affirm, but if you hold anger in your heart, your words travel no farther than your lips. Forgiveness clears the channel through which the current of spirit must flow. A woman once came to me saying that she had prayed and affirmed for prosperity, yet her income remained stagnant. As we talked, I discovered she was holding resentment toward a business partner who she felt had wronged her years before. I said, you must forgive him if you wish to prosper. She looked startled and said, but he doesn't deserve forgiveness. I answered, my dear, you are not forgiving him for his sake, you are forgiving him for your own freedom. Forgiveness doesn't excuse, it releases. That night she wrote a letter of blessing, tore it up, and said aloud, I fully and freely forgive everyone and everything that has ever hurt me. I send love to all and receive love in return. Within a week, she received a large order for her work and found herself surrounded by opportunities. The law of love had cleared the obstruction. Love is the master key that unlocks every locked gate. Divine love dissolves everything unlike itself. When you speak the word in love, your voice carries creative fire. But when you speak it through irritation or resentment, the current scatters. This is why I say to bless everything, the friend and the foe, the gain and the loss, the joy and the disappointment. Love is not an emotion, it is a frequency that brings all into right relation. If you can meet criticism with silence and misunderstanding with kindness, you have learned the secret of mastery. For love is the highest vibration in the universe, and every other power bows before it. And now let us talk about feeling, because feeling is the fuel of the spoken word. Cold words lack life. They are like unlit candles, beautiful in form, but without flame. The spoken word becomes effective when feeling gives it heat. When you affirm, do not do it mechanically. Fill it with joy. Let gratitude be the tone of every declaration. Imagine your word already fulfilled, and your emotion will seal it. A woman once told me she had been repeating the affirmation, "I am healthy, I am well." But she felt no change. I asked her, "When you say it, do you feel well?" She admitted she didn't. She was repeating it with fear, hoping it might work. I told her to stop hoping and start feeling. I said, "Stand up, stretch your arms, breathe deeply, and say it with the joy of one already healed." She did, and her voice changed. It vibrated with conviction. Within days, her strength returned. You see, the universe doesn't respond to empty repetition, it responds to the vibration of conviction. Neville Goddard called it, "Feeling is the secret," and he was right. The subconscious mind accepts as true whatever you feel deeply, whether it be good or evil. That is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude creates immediate alignment. When you feel thankful for what has not yet appeared, you announce to the universe, it already exists. And the law, hearing your conviction, rushes to make it visible. You can never receive more than you are willing to feel. To stay aligned, you must also watch your daily speech. Every morning, set the tone of your day with a declaration of truth. Say, "Today, everything unfolds in divine right order. Every person I meet is a blessing. Every event brings good." And at night, before you sleep, clear the record. Say, "I now erase every idle or fearful word spoken today. They are powerless and dissolved. Only the words of truth remain." That is spiritual housekeeping. You sweep your mental house and leave it ready for fresh blessings. The person who does this consistently finds that life becomes orderly, harmonious, and strangely effortless. Let me tell you a small story. A man once came to me, frustrated by the chaos in his office. He said, "Florence, no matter what I do, everything falls apart. The phone doesn't stop ringing, papers go missing, people misunderstand instructions, it's madness." I asked him, "What do you say each morning before you begin work?" He laughed and said, "I say, another crazy day ahead." I smiled and said, "And the law says, yes. From now on say, I expect order and ease in my affairs today." He followed that advice, and within days, the atmosphere changed. His coworkers commented that things seemed smoother, that the office felt calmer. Words are not mere sounds, they are patterns of vibration that organize substance. When you live in alignment, miracles cease to feel miraculous, they become your new normal. You begin to see that divine law has never failed you. You had simply been out of rhythm with it. Life stops feeling random and starts feeling orchestrated. People appear at the right time, doors open with ease, and what you once called coincidence you now call providence. The highest form of alignment is love in action, when every thought, every word, every feeling becomes an expression of good. The one who lives this way no longer seeks miracles, for life itself becomes the miracle. You wake in the morning and feel a quiet joy that cannot be explained. You walk through your day with calm certainty, knowing that invisible hands are arranging everything in your favor. And when challenges arise, you meet them with a smile, saying, "This too is working for my good." So my dear listener, if your world feels tangled, if confusion seems to circle you, do not rush to fix the outer. Sit in silence, align within. Say, "Divine order is now established in my mind, body, and affairs." Feel peace rise within you, and then watch as order appears without. And now, having found your rhythm in divine law, we go higher still to the place where you no longer walk alone, but walk as a co-creator with God Himself. This is the realm of partnership, the marriage of human word and divine power. Here, miracles become natural law, and the word you speak is the voice of the infinite made audible. There comes a point in the journey of truth when you stop speaking to God and begin speaking with God. You begin to understand that you were never meant to beg blessings from the sky or chase after answers as though heaven were far away. No, my dear one, you and the infinite were never separate. You are the Word made flesh, the living channel through which divine intelligence pours itself into form. When you speak the word in faith, it is not merely your voice that echoes through the ethers. It is the voice of the Creator sounding through you, shaping, commanding, and establishing all that is good. Co-creation is not about persuading God to act, it is about allowing God to act through you. It is the surrender of personal will to divine order, the recognition that the power that hung the stars and formed the seas also beats in your heart and speaks through your mouth. When you truly grasp this, fear dissolves like smoke in the wind. You no longer ask, "Can this happen?" Instead, you ask, "How may I align with what already is?" For all things already exist in divine mind as perfect ideas, awaiting the word that calls them into visibility. This is what I mean when I speak of the divine design. There is a plan, flawless and complete, etched upon the substance of your being. Every desire that stirs within you is a clue, a signal from infinite intelligence revealing what is ready to unfold next. When you long for something noble and good, you are not inventing it, you are remembering it. The dream is not a wish, it is instruction. It is the divine blueprint whispering, "Speak me into form." I remember once counseling a young artist who longed to paint but feared there was no market for her vision. She said, "Florence, I don't know if this is practical. What if I fail?" I said, "If the desire is divine, the provision is already complete. You cannot fail at your own design." I told her to declare, "There is a perfect place for me, and I am in it now." My talents open doors, and the right people recognize my gift. She spoke it daily, not as a plea, but as a decree. Within a few weeks, an unexpected opportunity came, an invitation to display her work in a gallery she had never even approached. The show sold out. She said, "I can't believe it happened so fast." I smiled and told her, "It didn't happen fast, it happened right on time." The moment you aligned with your design, the universe caught up to your word. You see, co-creation means you stop forcing and start flowing. You stop trying to build with the hands of anxiety and begin building with the heart of faith. When I say, "Let God work through you," I mean let intuition lead. Intuition is divine communication. Prayer is you speaking. Intuition is God answering. Every time you quiet your reasoning mind and listen to that still small voice, you are hearing the infinite giving you your next step. You are never alone in your creation. You are guided with precision. I tell my students often, don't strain to make things happen. Speak your word, listen, and obey your first hunch. I recall a time when I myself forgot this law. I was asked to give a lecture in a city I had never visited. Every part of me hesitated. I reasoned that it was inconvenient, that perhaps the timing was wrong. Yet, something within whispered, "Go." I ignored it for a day, and in that day every small thing seemed to go awry. Finally, I said aloud, "All right, Infinite Spirit, if you desire this, I go under grace." And instantly the resistance lifted. The trip that I had dreaded became one of the most fruitful journeys of my teaching life. Doors opened, souls were awakened. The divine had only been waiting for my cooperation. The same is true for you. Divine guidance does not shout, it whispers. And when you obey quickly, the way opens easily. Delay your obedience, and the way narrows until you feel blocked. This is why intuition is sacred. It is the language of co-creation. Through it, God speaks, saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." Every time you follow that impulse, you step further into your destiny. Now, let us speak of miracles, for many still think of them as interruptions of law. But miracles are not interruptions, they are illustrations. They are divine law understood and obeyed. Once you master the rhythm of faith and speech, what once seemed miraculous becomes your daily experience. The sunrise is no less a miracle than the healing of a disease, it is simply predictable. The laws that raise the sun are the same laws that raise you out of lack, sickness, and despair. When your word aligns with divine will, those laws respond with absolute obedience. Imagine the story of Moses at the Red Sea. The people cried out in fear, but Moses lifted his rod, a symbol of the spoken word, and commanded the waters to part. The power was not in the stick, it was in the faith behind the gesture. When he spoke as one joined with divine authority, and nature obeyed. So it is with you. The seas of circumstance cannot resist a word spoken in unity with God. You were born with that same creative authority. When you say, "Peace, be still," the storm must subside. When you declare, "Let this path open under grace," obstacles must dissolve. Heaven is not capricious, it is responsive. To live in partnership with the infinite is to live without strain. You no longer measure success by results but by obedience. You wake each morning saying, "Infinite Spirit, what would you have me do today?" And then you listen. Sometimes the direction is simple. Call a friend, send a letter, take a walk, say yes to a new venture. The steps may look small, but each one is a thread in the tapestry of divine design. When you follow them with joy, they weave together into a life of grace. And here lies the great secret. When you live this way, the miraculous becomes natural. Supply flows like air. You do not think of how you will breathe. You simply breathe. Opportunities arrive as easily as sunrise. You become so synchronized with the rhythm of the divine that you no longer ask for signs. Your life becomes the sign. People around you begin to feel that something luminous surrounds you. They will say, "How do you always know what to do?" And you will answer, "I listen." You see, co-creation is not about effort, but about recognition. It is remembering that you are the vessel, not the source. When you stop trying to take credit for your good and instead thank the power that flows through you, you remain aligned. Pride shuts the door. Gratitude keeps it open. The more you thank, the more you receive, for gratitude multiplies whatever it touches. Let me give you this final image. Picture yourself as a window through which the light of God shines into the world. When you worry, complain, or doubt, the glass becomes fogged and the light is dim. But when you forgive, love, and declare truth, the window clears and the light floods through, unhindered. That light does not belong to the window, it passes through it. You are that window, and the light is God's power expressing through your word. Keep it clean, keep it open, and you will illuminate every life you touch. So take this truth into your heart. You are not waiting for God. God is waiting for your word. And when you speak, speak as one who knows that the voice within you is the voice of the infinite. Say, "I and the Father are one. The words I speak are not mine, but His that sent me." And then watch as the invisible obeys your command, swiftly, gently, perfectly. This is co-creation, the marriage of spirit and speech, the union of faith and form. And now, before I close, let us gather all these truths into one shining thread. You have learned that God is never late, that your word is creative, that tests refine you, that alignment sustains you, and that co-creation completes you. Let us seal this journey with the final word of power, a declaration that opens every door and reminds you that heaven has been waiting all along for your voice to speak. Now that we have walked together through divine timing, the spoken word, the furnace of faith, and the quiet beauty of alignment, I want you to rest with me in the stillness of realization, the knowing that the power you have sought has been within you from the beginning. Every truth you've heard me speak returns now to one central law. The word becomes flesh, and that word is yours to speak. God is not far away, counting hours or measuring deeds. He waits in the silence of your own heart, ready to move the instant you speak truth with faith. All through life people ask, when will God act for me? When will the miracle come? And I must answer with all the love and certainty I have. The miracle will come when you speak as though it is already here. For heaven is not delayed, it is restrained only by your disbelief. The moment your heart and your tongue agree, the floodgates open. So now I invite you to close your eyes, not as an act of withdrawal, but of deep awareness, and listen as I speak this truth into your consciousness. There is no separation between you and your good. There is no distance between your word and its fulfillment. Every desire of your heart that is pure and loving is already complete in divine mind. The invisible pattern is finished. The only act remaining is your declaration. Say it aloud now, even softly. My good is here. My supply is sure. My timing is divine. God is not late. He is alive in my word, and I speak His miracles now. Feel the resonance of that statement. Feel it move through your body, your heart, your breath. This is not imagination, it is law. Each syllable is alive, each word vibrates with divine authority. You are not asking, you are commanding. And because your command is rooted in love, it can bring harm to no one. It moves under grace in perfect ways. When I speak of power, I do not mean the force of pride or control. I mean the quiet power that flows from union with the infinite, the power that says, "Let there be light," and light appears. You have that same word within you. You can look at a dark situation and say, "Let there be light here," and the light of understanding will shine. You can look at a body in pain and say, "Let there be harmony here," and healing will begin. You can look at your affairs and say, "Let there be order here," and circumstances will align. This is not poetry, it is law in motion. Every declaration is an act of creation. When you speak with faith, you become a living instrument of divine will, and all that belongs to you rushes forward with joy to meet your voice. I remember once speaking to a man who had lost everything. His business had collapsed, his home was gone, and his spirit was weary. He said to me, "Florence, I've prayed and I've begged, but nothing changes." I looked at him and said, "Because you keep praying to a God you think is outside yourself. You're speaking to absence, not to presence. Speak from within, as though the power were already yours because it is." I taught him to declare, "Infinite Spirit within me, open the way for my immediate supply. Let everything I need come to me, under grace, in perfect ways." He said it each morning and each night, not with desperation, but with calm assurance. And within a month, his circumstances reversed completely. Opportunities appeared from nowhere, debts were canceled, and he began again. He said to me later, "It felt as though something was waiting all along for me to give the word." And I smiled, because that something was God, and that word was faith. So if you are listening to me now and you feel that something in your life has been delayed, if you've wondered whether heaven has forgotten you, let me speak directly to your heart. God isn't late. He has never been late. Your good has been waiting in the wings, ready to walk on stage the moment you say, "Now." Speak your now with confidence. Speak it as though the world is listening, because it is. The air, the light, the wind, the very cells of your body, all are waiting for your direction. The universe is not a chaotic mass of accidents. It is a symphony awaiting its conductor. You are that conductor. Your words are the baton. Every time you affirm truth, the music of the spheres rearranges itself around you. And do not fear speaking too boldly. Heaven cannot be offended by your certainty. God delights in your confidence. When you say, "I expect miracles," you are not demanding, you are aligning. You are recognizing that divine law cannot fail. Expectation is faith dressed in readiness. So from this moment forward, expect good. Expect supply. Expect perfect timing. Expect every delay to turn into a doorway. Expect every closed gate to swing open at your approach. And when the mind tries to whisper doubt, simply answer, "That is not my truth." You do not have to argue with fear. You only have to refuse its invitation. Keep your speech pure and your tone steady, and the law will do the rest. You have learned that words can destroy and words can restore. Now choose restoration. Speak life into every corner of your experience. Bless your finances, bless your body, bless your enemies, bless your future. The blessing spoken aloud is a force of light that no shadow can resist. There is no power in the universe that can oppose a word spoken in faith and love. None. The great secret is that God's will for you has always been good, and the only way to receive that good is to claim it with your word. So now, let us speak together one final affirmation of divine certainty. Let it be the seal upon all that has been revealed in this journey. I am one with the infinite, and infinite good now flows to me and through me. Every word I speak is creative, every thought I hold is divine, and every step I take is guided by perfect order. There are no delays, no denials, no separations. My world is the expression of God's perfect idea, and I rejoice in its fulfillment now. Hold that vibration in your heart, and know that from this moment on, your life is no longer ruled by chance or waiting, it is ruled by the rhythm of your own spoken truth. The words you speak today are the foundation of the blessings you will walk into tomorrow. Heaven is not preparing to bless you someday. It has blessed you already. All it needs is your consent, and your consent is your word. So, beloved listener, go forth speaking words of power. Speak to your world as one who knows who they are, an heir of divine authority, a living instrument of the word. Speak with calm command, with love, with expectancy, and watch as the universe rearranges itself in obedience to your faith. And remember always this final truth: heaven waits for no one, it waits only on your word. And now, as I draw this teaching to a close, I want you to feel what has been quietly building all along, the sense that this is not the end of a lesson, but the opening of an entirely new way of being. For truth, once spoken and received, does not fade, it multiplies. The moment you heard the first word of this message, something within you stirred, a remembrance older than your years. It was the eternal recognition of who you truly are. Not a soul cast adrift upon the tides of time, but a co-creator with the infinite, breathing, speaking, and shaping life through the divine faculty of your word. That realization, once awakened, cannot return to sleep. You have entered the rhythm of divine partnership, and the vibration of your word now carries through every unseen layer of being. From this point forward, everything you say, everything you think, everything you imagine carries the signature of awareness. You will hear yourself speak, and the old careless phrases will fall away because you will know their power. You will pause before saying, "I'm tired," and instead affirm, "I am filled with divine energy." You will catch yourself before declaring lack, and instead bless the invisible abundance already forming in your path. You will see that every moment of your life is a conversation between you and God, your word shaping, His law fulfilling, and that nothing is ever lost in translation. Even silence, when filled with faith, is a form of prayer. I have often said that life is not a battle, but a game, and like every game, it has rules. But the greatest of these rules is not struggle or endurance, it is recognition. Recognize your divinity, and the game becomes joy. You stop defending and start creating. You stop fearing what might happen and begin decreeing what must happen. You step into the knowing that every event, every delay, every detour was always part of the divine choreography leading you to your good. Even the waiting rooms of your past, those seasons where nothing seemed to move, were holy classrooms where you learned the authority of your own voice. And now, as you stand in the clarity of this awareness, I want you to look back over your life, not with regret but with revelation. See how every unanswered prayer was really a redirection, how every loss was an exchange for something truer, how every closed door saved you from entering a room too small for your destiny. You will find that God was never late, never cruel, never silent, only exact. And through it all, He was teaching you the language of creation, the law of the word. Let this be your new way of living. Wake each morning and speak light into your day before the world can speak darkness. Say, "Infinite Spirit, I expect miracles today. Every step I take is guided, every word I speak is fruitful, and every encounter brings blessing." Then go forth with that rhythm beating beneath your breath. If fear whispers, answer it gently, "I remember who I am." If doubt rises, bless it as an old friend on its way out and reaffirm, "My word never returns void." And when night falls, before sleep carries you to the inner world, review your day with gratitude. Forgive swiftly, release easily. Let every word of love spoken to you or by you rest like a seed in fertile soil. Then sleep, knowing that even in dreams, the law continues to serve your faith. You will soon see how life begins to obey your new language. Opportunities will find you without struggle, peace will expand without effort, and the right people will appear as if summoned by invisible invitation. You will walk through your days, aware of a silent companionship, the presence of God moving in everything you touch. This is the reward of alignment. It is the fruit of spoken faith. The universe itself will become friendly, and you will wonder how you ever thought it otherwise. And when storms appear, and they will, for contrast sharpens faith, you will not shrink back into fear. You will remember this very hour and say, "I have been here before, and I know what to do. I will stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." You will speak peace to your own heart before commanding peace in the outer world, and as your inner waters still, the outer storm will obey. For you will have learned the eternal sequence of creation: thought, word, feeling, form. It has always been this way, and it always will be. I leave you now with one final truth, the one that anchors all others. The word you speak in love is eternal. It does not fade when the sound fades. It vibrates forever in the great field of creation. adding light to worlds unseen. So speak with reverence, but also with joy. Let your laughter bless the air, for even joy is a holy word. Let your kindness be spoken as naturally as breath, for each act of goodwill echoes through eternity. And when you speak your decrees, those bold, commanding affirmations that shake the unseen, do so not with strain, but with the calm certainty of one who knows that law and love are one. Say it often and with conviction. I am one with the infinite, and the infinite is one with me. I speak, and it is done. My world is ordered by divine law, and I rejoice in perfect manifestation now. Let this be your song, your compass, your peace. And as you walk forward from this teaching, remember that every word you utter is a brushstroke painting the masterpiece of your life. Paint boldly, paint beautifully, paint with faith. And when you look upon the canvas of your days and see the wonders that have unfolded, you will smile and say what I have always said: God was never late. He was waiting on my word. There is a moment, after truth has been spoken and silence follows, when the atmosphere itself seems to breathe differently, as though the air has remembered its holiness. That is where we are now. We have come to the still place beyond striving, beyond pleading, beyond wondering when or how. We are in the awareness that good flows eternally, that there is no stop and start to the movement of spirit, only continuity, only expansion, only life unfolding from its own inexhaustible source. The universe does not delay in giving because there is nothing to delay, it gives in one continuous motion. It is man who opens and closes the gate with his thoughts, who tightens or loosens the flow with his speech, who quickens or slows his own blessing with the measure of his faith. But when man remembers his unity with the giver, when he relaxes into divine certainty and begins to speak from that calm center, he becomes a clear channel through which the eternal stream pours unbroken. You see, God never withholds, but we often resist. We resist through doubt, through fear, through the false dignity of self-reliance, through the habit of believing that we must earn what has already been freely given. But every time we speak words of truth, every time we affirm our oneness with the source, that resistance melts. The current of life rushes in again, strong and sure, washing away the debris of old beliefs. And as it flows, it carries us forward into richer experiences, higher realizations, and greater service. For life is not meant to be hoarded, it is meant to be circulated. The gift multiplies as it moves. I want you to imagine for a moment that all around you there is an invisible river, bright and silent, moving with the rhythm of divine order. That river carries everything you could ever need: supply, love, ideas, opportunities, healing, companionship, purpose. It has no beginning and no end. It is not waiting to flow, it is flowing now. The only question is, are you standing in it or beside it? Are you letting its waters move through you with ease, or are you building dams of worry and fear? When you speak your word in faith, you step into that current. You feel it lift you, support you, carry you effortlessly toward the good prepared for you from the foundation of the world. When you resist, you feel the weight of the water pressing against you, and you call it delay, when it is only your own effort holding you still. The way to move, again, is simple. Stop fighting, bless the current, and say aloud, I now float in the stream of divine good, and all that belongs to me comes swiftly and easily under grace. The moment you say that with feeling, the pressure lifts. You are no longer walking against the current of life, you are moving with it. And then things begin to happen in that quiet, natural way that miracles always happen: through right ideas, through intuitive guidance, through the unexpected kindness of others. You realize that supply is never stored in one place. It circulates through countless channels. Love is not confined to one face. It expresses through every heart open enough to reflect it. Harmony is not achieved through control. It appears when you align with the rhythm already present. Everything you thought you had to chase reveals itself to have been surrounding you all along, waiting for recognition. And as you live this way, a new awareness dawns. You begin to sense that there is no such thing as separation, no real distance between spirit and form. The tree, the breeze, the light on the water, the smile of a stranger all begin to speak the same language. You hear the universe whisper, I am, in everything, and you realize it is your own voice answering. For in truth, there is only one presence, one power, one life, moving through infinite expressions. You are that life individualized, a perfect outlet for the infinite creativity of God. Now let this realization sink deep. Your good is not coming to you from outside. It is emerging through you from within. The field of life responds to the vibration of your consciousness. Speak love, and love appears. Speak order, and order forms. Speak abundance, and abundance multiplies. The universe mirrors your tone. You are never waiting for creation, you are creating by the act of your recognition. This is why I say that God is waiting on your word. The divine has already declared, it is finished. It is man's turn to echo, it is done. If you can hold this truth, even for a few minutes each day, your world will transform. You will notice that what used to exhaust you now inspires you, that what once frightened you now feels like opportunity, that even those who seemed opposed to you begin to change their tone, as though the whole universe has softened in your favor. And it has, because you have changed your vibration. The law is exact, as within, so without. When the inner word is peace, the outer world reflects serenity. When the inner word is plenty, outer resources organize themselves in abundance. The change does not come from striving, it comes from speaking and believing. And so, beloved, as this message settles in your heart, I leave you with one final image. Picture the dawn rising over calm waters. The horizon glows with gold, and every wave reflects the light. You stand at the edge of that sea, no longer waiting for permission, no longer wondering if the tide will come in for you. It is already rising, lapping at your feet, inviting you to step forward. The sunlight on the surface is your own consciousness expanding, and the endless ocean before you is divine possibility. Step into it. Speak your word and let the waves carry it out into infinity, knowing that each ripple will return to you multiplied and glorified. And when life presents new challenges, as it will, remember the simplicity of this law. You are never tested to break. You are tested to prove the permanence of your power. You have already walked through the waiting, through the silence, through the fire, through the surrender, and now you stand in mastery. There is nothing more to strive for, nothing to plead for, nothing to chase. You have only to speak and to know. The law will do the rest, for that is its nature to fulfill every true word spoken in faith. So walk on from this moment as one who knows. Let your every word be a seed of light sown in the garden of eternity. Let your every step be a reader, quiet affirmation that God and good are one and that you are the living evidence of that union. The stream of good is endless, its waters never cease. And as long as you keep your faith alive and your word true, you shall never thirst. For you and the river are one, and the river is God.